Hey everybody, welcome back. Hey, let's go Knicks. Those of you who are into it. What an amazing game, man, last night. Oh my God. Just hope they win. I've been waiting a long time in my life. I'm 59 right now. Became a fan when I was 16, so that was a long time ago, 1984, early 1984. So, um, let's go Knicks. Anyway, um I'm actually a little tired and weary because of last night's game. I am taping this on Thursday, by the way, for Friday posting. So I'm still a little weary. So I'll do my best. I got through this. Here's my dog, by the way. Is my doggy? Hey, Breezy. All right. So I gave you a very long video last time, so I'll try to keep you a little bit of a shorter one today. Um, so as I said, we are now moving into basically the more of the reporting end of things. And the basically, that means basically not just like learning how to write, but learning how to dig for information and stuff like that. There's been glimpses of that kind of instruction, I would say, in some of these assignments, like I would say with the leads assignment, for instance, the leads worksheets assignments is um which by the way, the rewrite for that we do Friday. Okay. Um, so anyway, so don't forget that. And also don't forget that the reaction to AI use at the university is also due on Friday. But anyway, the leads reaction, I'm sorry, the leads worksheets assignment. I mean, that requires a little bit of digging. You're not necessarily like asking questions to get more information, but you're trying to dig to get more information. You're trying to like find out what like separates this story from every other one. And that requires a little bit of like intuitive thought, like what separates this robbery from every other one? What separates this reporting of a crime statistic from every other one? What separates the motive for this attempted murder, Easter Bunny, so than any other one? So yes, that requires a bit of like what they call we used to call it's kind of corny, kind of cringy, but we used to call it reporter radar. Where basically the person has the idea, temerity, whatever the word is, to kind of figure out like what is like essentially the unique main point that people care about. You have to have almost some sort of sixth sense. There's no formula for that. It's just something that really kind of comes from within, I guess, comes from your brain, whatever, heart. So anyway, so yeah, so that's what we had to do a little bit of that. Um, So the first way to actually like deal with that is actually like deal with this Megalomania press release. Now, before I get into that, I want to actually show a little bit of. I did actually. I showed. I initially thought of actually showing presenting the whole story, but then I thought I'm doing this a little bit differently this year, and that is I'm asking or I'm having you only take information for the AI reaction story from one source, and that is the discussion point. And so. I feel like if I was actually going to show you I mean, pass around like, I mean, I'm saying that people are gonna plagiarize, but I would feel like it's almost like kind of giving away answers, since there's like a limited pool of comments there. I want people to actually really kind of think for themselves. What I did was I actually gave you, I sent to you a lead, and then I sent to you a transition and an anecdote, kind of following that structure of news writing, more in-depth news writing I was talking about. Okay, but what I can do here, because for this is going to be like a gift for those of you who are actually watching the video, which I know most of you do. So, but this was the story I used actually. Now, I'm going to actually show me a little more. So. I felt like the lead here. Okay, I mean it's not the most exciting lead in the world, but it works. Rutgers students have mixed feelings about the use of AI in current classes, but the majority still believe the university needs to allow some AI usage in future courses. So it's kind of more of a mixed reaction sort of thing. Okay. And it basically serves as an umbrella topic, umbrella idea for like everything that's going to be said later on. Okay. Then you go to the next paragraph, which is typically where the transition is. And I showed you a video of a TV reporter in the last video, very long, hour and a half video, basically. Um, and how she basically like transitioned, showing the reaction to this horrible fraternity tragedy. Well, you're doing a very similar thing here is that you're kind of guiding the reader along the show from point to point. So the first thing you do, you break down this lead of mixed feelings and everything, the smaller points. So we can almost ask questions. Well, what are those mixed feelings, and and at the same time, like, why do people feel maybe a little anti? Why do people feel a little pro about AI? So here we have a little bit of the pro. Well, on the one hand, essentially, Rutgers students see AI as a resourceful tool for learning. And then we have Will. Hi, Will, one of the students. Believes students should be allowed to use AI to help them generate ideas and as an outlet for the assignment. Using AI could help prevent a help student save time when they are stuck on a part of an assignment. Morgan Wright agrees that AI could be used as a tool for preliminary research and now these are like essentially personal anecdotes. It you know it's sometimes a little bit hard to get like somebody's like personal actual it's really like really I'm really asking for people to actually really kind of go even a little deeper on these anecdotes. Basically get the person not only just talking about and their feelings about AI use, but like how does it matter to them personally? And I think this particular student did that right here. She said one of her friends, I mean, I know it's one of her friends, not her, but it's still good enough, I would say, because it shows like some sort of like almost like kind of granular on the ground detail of how this is actually like a thing. Okay. So she said one of her friends uses ChatGPT to make her practice questions based on her notes. So that's interesting. So it's not just this thing that people are using as a tool to cheat, but something that actually is kind of helping them get organized. So yeah, so that's basically essentially like your first anecdote. Okay. And then you got it. Then you go and moves on to another transition. Okay, some students believe AI can improve efficiency and productivity especially for STEM majors. How is it? I'm sorry, Sebastian said he was encouraged to utilize AI as a companion tool in his computer science and information technology. Now, that's actually a personal detail. He also saw successful cases where his friends used Claude, an AI program, create mind maps. So again, like more of the positive side of things, but this is actually like makes it really interesting is to actually and relatable for people to read because they can actually see like, okay, well, how, maybe help them guide their feelings. Maybe they're kind of undecided about it and they kind of say like, oh, I thought it was, maybe they're like really negative about it. Like, oh, it's like taking over our jobs and it's, cheating. We've seen the reaction at commencement ceremonies of people booing AI, the whole thing. But here we have students actually saying, well, I mean, they may be like anti overall about it, but they are citing like maybe personal uses that are helpful for them. John Frederick believes using AI for debugging code or creating a tool set for the individual may complement the learning process. But then we go a little bit negative, so it's a mix. So maybe we could almost have like say like Rutgers students on the other hand are concerned that reliance on AI could reduce critical thinking skills and weaken. See, it's just introducing one point after another. He goes by Yanni. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name, Yanni. Thinks students should know how to brainstorm without reliance on AI because coming up with ideas is a big part of writing. And then we got a direct quote that shows like I would say some emotion, some color. If AI gives us ideas, we are skipping an important step and losing some of the creativity. Okay. That's like almost kind of showing a little bit of emotion. It's not like outrage or anything like that, but just basically saying like it's hurting creativity and that sort of thing. So see, there's a rhythm to it. You know, lead, transition, anecdote, transition, anecdote, and then direct quote, which we could kind of worry in. Here's another direct quote. Maybe it's a little better. That worries me because it takes away from doing your own work. That again, that's like showing emotion. Okay. So yeah, so that's due Friday, which by the time you're reading this will be today. So okay. So remember to do that. Remember to finish that, remember to send that in. A couple of you haven't like submitted assignments, so please do that. Maybe you still got a chance to pass the class. All right. So if you go back to the modules, so the it's interesting actually, and maybe you're like, what is this about? Like public relations is about reporting. But what I do is actually when I actually start dealing with the and I should actually show that first. When I actually start introducing more of the reporting end of things, reporting end of the instruction, I actually go into essentially PR writing. Now, why do I do that? Because most people, most reporters get their news from some sort of press release, some sort of press person, even if it's a person who's not actually like employed as um, a PR technician, as they would call it, public relations technician. A lot of times it's police officers, and what they do is they just kind of randomly like pick somebody who actually like will be the serve as a spokesperson. Um, Sometimes they go for training and they do more than that. Sometimes you actually hire somebody and do it. It's critical, and it's one of the first things I ask nowadays. I probably wouldn't be emphasizing this as much, let's say 30, 40 years ago, because it was more about back then before the internet and everything, before you could email and get answers. It was more about like kind of hanging around by the police station, seeing who was available, knocking on doors, that sort of thing. It's not so much that way anymore. It's more about actually, and it can really almost like slow the process down and getting information. Using the digital technology that's available to you is important. So one of the first things I ask is who speaks to the media? Whenever I need to interview somebody, because I just know that it's going to get to that point anyway. Ideally, you would love to have an interview with like be able to call the president or the CEO or whoever on the phone and maybe you'll be able to do that someday. But that often takes like time to like build that kind of relationship. They often have somebody who works as a public relations person to stand in between you and them. Okay. And they do that for a reason. Is that because a lot of times the president might not even know like what the appropriate answer is or what sometimes they say inappropriate answers. That's another thing. And another thing is also, and that doesn't make it right, but, and, sometimes like they might not even be, if they're like a CEO at that level, they call it C-suite level, that's the executive level. They might not have, using this term again, they might not have their hands on the granular detail, what things happening on the ground, like others would. Okay. So, there's some sort of a controversy involving a company or something like that, it's really always best to like try to get the information from the top people, but you often have to get it through the filter of a public relations person. And that's what's happening with this Megalomania release, which again is a made up company. Okay. So yeah, so it says week 3, June 8th. It's actually like we're kind of beyond that now. We're actually in that week right now, but working for public relations, the chief idea of this chapter is to press upon students the versatility in writing and that a public relations practitioners must possess. Okay. All right. So anyway, let's just go back to the assignments. This is actually the teacher's view, so it's not how you would normally see it. Okay. And all right. So what I gave you guys and also Bill, and some of you have written him already. That's good, but I would like to see more people write to him because you do have another week on this assignment, which is good, okay? Because it is the longest time I give on any assignment except for the final assignment. So yeah, but it's still critical. I do that because it's critical for you to actually reach out to Bill and try to get at least something. And I get this question asked a lot, and that is like, well, what should I ask? Well, I mean, you have to look at the press release first. Okay. Scroll it up. And you have to like basically go into this. You go into this cold. You don't know, you have no idea what Megalomania is. And again, this is a made-up company, but treat it like it's real. Okay. And you're suddenly handed this press release and you're suddenly like, well, what do I make of this? That is almost like your first question. You know, they always say that like there's no dumb questions. And what's funny is that like I say there's no dumb questions, but there's not necessarily dumb questions, but sometimes the best questions are the ones that are perceived as dumb. Okay, now what does that mean? When you ask a question like I remember like the movie Big. I don't know if you ever guys ever saw it. It was 40 years ago, almost. Tom Hanks' first Oscar nomination, the whole thing. And what happened was he was transformed into a child by some machine out on Coney Island or something like that. Some, oh, sorry, some video game, whatever. Anyway, so he goes to work for like a toy factory eventually, and he's actually very good at it and everything. But like one of the first things meetings he's in, he's up against this antagonist, this guy who doesn't like him, and the guy presents the guy he uses his antagonist presents this thing on a toy that isn't very like good. So Tom Hanks raises his hand and goes, "I don't get it." As childish as that may sound, that may be the best question that a journalist could ever ask. You have to have humility, you know? There's no like a lot of people get into this whole thing of like, oh, even like with Trump, they didn't ask the right questions, he didn't ask this, he didn't ask that. But sometimes like just the most general questions are what need to be asked. And sometimes like especially with like Trump or something like that, you're gonna get like an angry rebuttal. Especially I've noticed when you ask these very general kind of non-basic questions, I don't get it. Or like, or you didn't say that before, or that contradicts what you said before. I mean, it's almost like kind of like it's more job interview than it is conversation, is what an interview is. The story itself, the way it pans out and plays out is actually written in more conversational form, but the actual questioning is more of a job interview form where it can be awkward, and that's okay. I like this again, I've said this before. It almost starts with the macro. You think of the general questions at first. What is this about? Why is this happening? Okay. And then you go into once you figure out maybe like what might be of interest to people, then you go to the micro and you have to zone in specific on that. Now, I'm not giving that away right now. Okay. Um, but let's look through the press release anyway. And sometimes it's like actually good to like maybe just go through one paragraph at a time and just almost like kind of you could like take like a separate sheet or maybe go to the press release itself and just almost like take each item, each paragraph and like list them in order of priority of what people would care about. Now again, I'm not going to give that away here, okay? But I've told you it already and we've said already that the first paragraph is not the lead, okay? You have to think about it in terms of like Megalomania. You have to think of it as in terms of like a big company. Like I'm not talking about like some small like cable company. I'm talking about like something on the level of Disney. Okay, that's what they are. Okay, so when they do something that like maybe like changes the way people look at them, or maybe changes the people's buying practices or anything like that, that's a big deal. Okay, so we have to ask yourself, and this is why big reason why this is not the lead. Do people really give a crap at their restructuring management roles? I'll tell you right now, if there was a let's say this was Disney, okay? And you walked into the Disney store and you just learned that they changed management roles, would you stop buying Disney products? No. Okay. So there's some things that have happened in the past that have actually stopped people from buying products. And I'm kind of giving away some hints here, by the way. But a lot of people stopped buying BP gas after they had a gigantic oil spill around 2011 in the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of people stopped buying Exxon gas after they had a huge oil spill that killed a tremendous amount of wildlife in Alaska in 1989. Those things happened. Even Trump, through his controversies, has suffered a bit business-wise, supposedly, through like his ties and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's whatever what side you're on there. But I'm just saying, like things like that happen, and like sometimes that's one of the things you have to look for. Okay, what kind of an impact does this have on me? Do I really care? What does it have kind of an impact on the prices? People care about the prices, the inflation, the gas prices, those sorts of things. They care about Iran because they obviously don't want to get involved in a foreign war, a lot of people, but they also don't like seeing $4 plus gas, you know? So it's like you have to look at the kind of impact that on you, okay? So then we got the Office of Chief Executive is formed, blah, 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 and it contains these people. So you have to ask yourself, does that really matter to me? Or, and does it affect my pocketbook? Does it affect the way I look at things? What do I, does it affect my buying behavior? We have Mion and his background right here, a baseball career, a sort of thing. He sold his company, blah, blah, blah. You have to ask if that's actually something that has any kind of effect on you. Mr. Garrett was a co-founder of Megalomania who played a key role in developing blah blah blah. Yes, I know he has like this is Bill's sense of humor. It's a little creepy, may make you give you some pause, but does that have like an impact on you? Okay. Mr. Youngblood was involved in TV wrestling, which could be a bit controversial. Line of foods, vitamins, heroes include Ric Flair. Does that matter to you? Okay, now this is the company's opinion, but does it matter? Okay, the management structure allowed Megalomania to pursue a strategy of providing a broad range of entertainment. Does that matter to you? Do you care about that? Like I said, if you just put Disney's name in there, and does that matter to you? Does it affect you, like what you watch on television on Disney channels, or sorry, the Disney package, whatever it's called, which includes Hulu and everything? Okay. The corporate structure will not change one iota. Does that matter to you and have any kind of factor on you? We're planning to expand licensing of our intellectual property. Again, does that matter or have any kind of impact on you? The board of directors asked for and received the resignation of Marv Bronson, a co-founder of Megalomania. Does that have any kind of impact on you or could it have any kind of indirect impact? The board's actions were taken after an internal investigation consultation with external counsel and circumstances surrounding work consistent with Media Motors Megalomania media company's code of conduct. Does that have any kind of impact on you? Yes, it does. Anyway, so yes. The board concluded that the facts have reflected poorly on Bronson's judgment and undermined his credibility. So, not a good guy. Anyway, does that have any kind of impact on you? Okay. Given everything that we've talked about here. Okay. So yeah, that's the whole press release. And sometimes they bury the lead and don't give you everything you need to know. So you have to like kind of figure it out and then actually just essentially rewrite the press release with a new lead. And what you need to do is once you figure out what that lead is, the material which is in that press release, then you go to Bill and then you write the bill. And then what Bill's going to send you are two documents. One of them is an Excel spreadsheet and another one is a Q&A. Obviously, the Excel spreadsheet is extremely important. That's the one that has like essentially shows the kind of impact it might have on you. Okay, whatever happened within that press release that might impact the way you change you conduct your own behavior, your buying behavior, your the reputation of people or a company or that sort of thing. Okay. Um, so you have to get that from him. Okay. Let me know if you have any kind of issue there. I know I have people tell me at the last minute, I haven't gotten it from him. And I'm like, well, you haven't emailed him in 2 weeks. So you need that. Okay. But just let me know if any kind of issue. Okay. Um, so yes, this is the assignment. So, you have to act quickly and, I mean, he's gotten a couple, but he hasn't gotten a lot. So really just really try to move on that one, please. And you could just even just ask the question, what does this mean? Just ask that question. That's all. Just get it out. Email it. I mean, we often have to do that in news writing. Sometimes we're facing like a late deadline. We have to get people before they leave for the day. So we have to, and I know people now work remotely and it's not so much an issue anymore, but still it's an issue because people would sit down and eat dinner and then they become unavailable. So you have to get things out, even if it's like a quick question. Okay. So you're writing a press release and turning it into a story. You're writing for the general public, so you determine what the focus should be and what matters for the public at large. Bill Borden is acting as the company's spokesperson, so you please quote him and please write, if you need to, because he'll provide some context and also provide the information you're going to need to back up why this is such a big story. Okay. And then please watch the newest lecture video, but I also included this video with the lecture video. That's of Bill talking about it. Okay. So as I talk about in the video that I talked about last week, the first paragraph's not in the lead. You have to find the lead, and that's important. It goes beyond the company's spin because you have to worry about that. Because obviously the company, it's not a scandal. It's what the company does. The company does not want you to find out, obviously, about the big freaking stinking deal, the sticky mess that's going on right away. They want to, like search for it. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just their job. Their job is to try to put a positive spin on things and show that Megalomania is taking care of things and doing all the things they need to do to make sure everything is working right. Okay, everything. There's nothing to see here, as they say in like what the South Park or Simpsons. Once you find that lead or theme, you contact Bill. And I also said basically you really should like if you're having trouble like finding the lead or anything like that, you write to me. I'll help you out. Okay. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to give it to you right away, but I mean, if you ask me questions about it, then I'm Bobby will help you out and help you get you there. And I like that. It's class participation. Okay. So as I said in the video, you'll have to contact Bill for the assignment. The first thing he'll do is send you a document, write some depth, what you need. Okay. Well, it's two documents really. And he sends you a document, provides critical and vital information for this assignment. Quoting, I mean, and then what you do is how do you attribute this? So this is what we do nowadays. We don't actually not talk to people all the time. We quote information from documents, that sort of thing. It happens like with like anything we do when we like maybe do stories about like building code violations, or we have to say according to documents filed with whatever the town or something like that, or or even like police stories or something like that. You have to say according to police records or something like that, crime stories, something like that. So that's what you do here is say maybe you can say according to a document provided by Megalomania, or you can say according to Megalomania even would work. Okay. I mean, you have to make sure that this is attributed, that you have to let the reader know that this came from someplace. Okay. I don't know why this does this, but it does. You have plenty of time to scrape information. Please feel to reach out to me. But like I said, you have to watch the video. You have to really watch, the Monday video, I should say. Okay, to really know what's going on because it includes this video right here. Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's what you need to do there. Okay. So like I said, this is kind of the primary way of getting information nowadays. So um let's look at the reading actually. Now again, we haven't talked about the reading in a while. I asked you to read chapter 17 and 19, but this is really deals more with 19 more than any other. So let me get rid of this. All right, so journalism, public relations. Public relations actually almost is another component of journalism. It's just that you're writing for different audiences. You're writing for an audience that essentially is typically the media, actually. Okay. You're writing for the media, you're writing because you're that go-between in between. You're not The media writes for general audiences, people, everyday readers, fourth grade on and up, that sort of thing. But the PR person is writing for the media because they're acting as the interpreters for the media, or what they would like to think as their interpreters. So journalists want to know what is happening in different sectors of the community, and PR practitioners work with journalists to get their stories about clients in the news. And they actually work with people and send people press releases and show them like what I get this at AM Best all the time, where I work as an insurance trade journalist editor. So I get press releases all the time. Oh my God, there's major things happening at Liberty Mutual or something like that. You know, the more newsworthy the news release story it is closer to journalistic style, more likely to appear in a news outlet. Thus, PR practitioners usually have degrees in journalism or public relations specialization. Okay. So, yeah, so they run into situations essentially where why this is acting this way, but where they essentially um, have to sell ideas on people because maybe it's like a positive idea, but they also have to do things like answer questions on controversial things that they don't want to really answer. And they give you like essentially like an example of a story here, protecting kids from stealth advertising and digital media. So, a lot of these government agencies, and they have public relations people essentially. They do the job of like trying to make that sure that people know that these public relations are doing good work for people. So, so we have here, and now a lot of times these press releases are not written well. I know I'm a big deal. Like I don't like starting a paragraph this way, but this is what they do, is why you should not write it like the press release is. You should write it like a news story. So it's like a news story. So they start off with a date, which I dislike, hate. Okay. So it says on October 19th, 2022, the Federal Trade Commission. You just say the Federal Trade Commission on October 20, whatever date, will host a virtual event on protecting kids from stealth advertising and digital media. And you can also see I'm also a big believer in one sentence leads. This easy. They don't care about that. They have 2 or 3 sentences in their lead and makes it read like a textbook. The FTC, you have to basically do the job of actually turning this into something readable. Okay. Um, so the FTC will bring together researchers, dialogue development, blah, 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 consumer advocates. So basically what they're trying to tell is that they're out there protecting your kids and that they're doing something useful or something like that. But even like on the stories are pure not so controversial. It's actually a good question to find, good idea to find out like, okay, so maybe there's something that could be done that's better here. Maybe they haven't done enough. Maybe this is like maybe you could ask them like okay, so you haven't like talked about stealth advertising and digital media for a long time, subliminal advertising, I suppose. Why now? Why is it important now? You could ask them like how much money is being spent on this because one of the big questions that always comes up is in government is like how much are we paying our government employees? And sometimes when you call, when you see how much they're being paid and you see there's only being like $2,000 being spent on stealth advertising for kids, but the leaders of the agency are getting paid $300,000 a year, then you got to ask yourself, that ain't right. Maybe they should spend a little more. Um, is it effective? Is it actually penetrating? Sometimes, a lot of times when they put people in charge of these things, I know this is really cynical and negative, and this is probably going a little bit over the top, but sometimes they put people in charge of like they call political hacks, people who really have like no concept of like stealth advertising and kids and that sort of thing, but they're really just kind of like people who maybe lost an election and need a job or something like that. You know, um, maybe and a lot of times those sorts of people are people who are often like late to the party. And I'll never forget in 2005 when George W. Bush put one of his hack um buddies in charge of the of FEMA when Hurricane Katrina happened in New Orleans, and the guy had like basically like a resume that basically had nothing to do with any kind of environmental protection or like cleanup. And I think he was just basically George Bush's golfing buddy. So anyway, he looked totally, totally like deer in the headlights when that happened. Like he didn't know what he was doing. And then George W. Bush infamously said to him, "You're doing a heck of a job, Brownie." Um, that was when George W. Bush's popularity rating went from 41 or 2% to like 37%, and he never recovered. Kind of similar to like what's happened with Trump and the Iran war. So anyway, I mean that's a little bit negative, but sometimes like it's not always like that. I mean, but you want to like you do want to like maintain a little bit of a skeptical eye with people. It's always good to maintain a good relationship with them. I mean, also make sure you have like maintain a contact person, a person that you can always like contact on the whim. They often can be the person who can set up the interview with the CEO, that sort of thing. So it's not like you can't talk to the CEO, but they're usually the contact person to get there. And if you have a good enough relationship with them, you can get there. Okay. You want to avoid like sucking up. You want to because sometimes like if you suck up or something like that, you get like no respect, and then maybe like okay, so I think they call it access journalism, where you basically like do everything you can. And it's interesting. Like I was actually watching like this whole thing with Iran. Yeah, there's a lot of Knicks stuff in here. Go Knicks. Hey guys, you guys just got to see this. All right, play this play. Come on, come on. You want to see this? See this. Come on. I don't care if you're a basketball fan or not. You got to see this. Oh no, that's not. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Come on. Where's this great play from last night? Ah. Oh, this is the last play right there when they missed. When the Spurs missed. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, it's Jerry Seinfeld getting really excited. That's OG Anunoby like making a big block at the end there. He's probably getting the MVP of the series if they win this damn thing. Um, and oh, they're not going to help me out here, are they? Oh well. Anyway, there's been some Iran talk today, and this whole thing, Trump cancels strikes as media just claim deal close. But then like that happens like how many times have we heard that recently? But then we actually see other places saying Iran has now placed Elon Musk company's interest in target banks ahead of Trump's announced U.S. attacks. This was like 3 hours ago, but I think it was around the same time as this. Um, and now we're hearing that like that deal is actually like not real. Okay, so now he's saying that a deal is reached. Okay, yeah, sure. All right, sure. He just made a great settlement on the war in Iran. Okay. Um, oh, so maybe they are saying there was a deal. Okay. Huh. Memorandum of understanding. I still not really hearing that actually. So, um, I don't know. I guess Israel is arguing that like they were caught blindsided. Um, something. So just pretty much wrapped up. Yes, you just don't know. I mean, let me call up this Hormuz letter has actually been more accurate than the actual general media. Iran directly rejects Trump's new claim that he has reached an agreement to cancel tonight's strikes and on Iran as baseless, saying no agreement has been approved at all. I don't know, maybe by the time you read this tomorrow, maybe it'll be different. Um, so anyway, so you have to kind of a lot of times these people who rely on they get the oh our deal is close thing. It's usually like a U.S. official who says that, which means somebody in the Trump administration. Anyway, so that's you got to really like maintain a skeptical eye. A lot of times these press like I was actually gonna call this up. Um, that's my Facebook page. I have that. A lot of times like places provide their news like actually just strictly like through uh Facebook or something like that. They don't even like hand out releases. So, this is my hometown of Point Pleasant. I now live in Metuchen, but I mean, they don't always put controversial news here, but on June 5th, members of the Point Pleasant Police proudly participated in blah 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 torch run. They obviously like they keep it a little bit short, so they want you to ask maybe more questions about it. They want to steer the away. They want to steer the news away from the crime and really more about like all the good and positive things that are happening in town. But if you like scroll down sometimes, you might come across something that might be a little bit like, what's going on here? Um, here we go. The Point Pleasant Borough Police District, actually, this comes from both the school and the police department, are issuing a I shouldn't laugh, but this just joint message regarding the senior assassin game being played in our community. While this may have started as harmless fun, several recent incidents have crossed the line into unsafe and concerning behavior. Although we do not believe these events occurred on school grounds, action throughout the community have raised. So, what were those exactly? We are strongly advising. What does that mean? Parents and guardians are asked to speak their children about the unsafe, about the seriousness. What does that mean? Are people like actually like in harm's way? What does that mean? And what's the Assassin's game? Is it just a matter of just basically like, you know, they want to discourage any kind of like talk of assassin or something like that? What does this mean? There's so many holes left in that. What does that mean? Why are they concerned about it? Is it just like is it like people going around like playing like cops and robbers or something like that, or what is it? You know, see how I'm just asking that general question. I don't get it. That's probably usually like the best question. What does that mean? They couldn't be using like real weapons, are they? So please give us more here. Just don't like slap it on. This I know is way back in April, but just don't slap it on there and just say like, oh, we're done, you know? Okay, I want to know, like, is somebody gonna like crawl into my house or something like that and like hit me with a pop gun or something? What's going to happen there? Um, More about this chapter, basically, like he talks about buried news, how they try to like steer things. That's called spin doctoring, by the way. It's not illegal or anything like that, but it's what was done in the Megalomania press release. So, it means that basically they're gonna spin it in a way that actually like so that maybe the reporter will take it in a way, especially maybe like a younger reporter who's maybe a little bit green on the job. Um, will maybe like be more inclined to actually write about it or something like that. Okay. All right, so we'll be talking more about this on Monday's lecture. Remember what we got to do though, okay? Of course, we got it's all on Canvas, okay? We got the Megalomania stories due a week from today, which is February 19th. And then on February 12th, Friday, we have the rewrite of the I'm sorry, which by the way, I made a post. Um I made a post for that. Actually, let me go back to that now, actually. Sorry about that. Okay. I made a post. So the student, remember that let me go to the student view. Okay. It's easier for you. Remember to look on show by type. Much easier to be organized this way. This is everything we've done so far. And of course, the readings and the lectures are down here. You'll see the new one here soon. Anyway, so yeah, we have I'm sorry, the new post, I got it wrong. Okay, so the new post actually, so yes, the reaction. So this is what we have to do with it. Megalomania thing due a week from today, and then we have also due a week from today the rewrite of the students' reaction AI. So yes, these are the two assignments that are due today. See, it says, I'm sorry, this is old now, but June 12th is the rewrite of the writing of the leads worksheets. Okay. June 12th is the students' reaction to artificial intelligence use. That's due June 12th. Then June 19th is the rewrite of that. So this weekend, I hope to grade all these. Okay. And then, so you'll have plenty of time to actually do the rewrite for that if you need to do the rewrite. And of course, the Megalomania assignment is due on April 9th, sorry, June 19th as well. Okay. All right, everybody, let me know. I know a couple of you reached out to me for office hours, which we're going to do. So let me know if you need to do that as well. Thanks very much, and I will be talking to you.